Okay, hello and welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. Go ahead and post in the chat if you're able to. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know that you're here. Thank you for taking time today to be with me to talk about healing relationships. Um, this is a really, honestly, a passion and a favorite topic of mine because I firmly believe that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your relationships. So I'm going to go ahead and start my little slideshow here. And so the work I do is family constellations, but we're not going to talk about that right this minute, but it is the core of everything I do. So I'm going to guess why some of you are here. Some of you might be going through some kind of disharmony in your relationship, whether it's your partner, your husband or your wife, maybe your mom, your dad, brother, sister, your child, your teen, and you might be experiencing, suppressed anger or just anger outright, estrangement. Maybe you're arguing a lot with your partner or your child. You're feeling really frustrated because you often find yourself being misunderstood because communication isn't clear. Sadness, depression, maybe even overwhelm. Like there's just so much going on, especially if you're a mom. You've got the husband, you've got the kids, you've got your career, all these things. Anyway, and so all of these disruptions that are happening in your relationship, you're finding that it's actually kind of spilling out and affecting you in all areas of your life. You're just the disharmony is impacting how you're experiencing life in general, how you're showing up, your career, etc. And I'm going to assume that what you're looking for is greater connection, deeper intimacy, feeling safe to be vulnerable, harmony, wanting to create clearer boundaries and communication, um, mutual understanding, affection, to be seen, love and freedom, openness, all of these things that I'm sure that each one of you can tune into, like, oh, I just wish that I had that. And oftentimes, especially when it comes to partnership and marriage, we often think, oh, this isn't the partnership to me. I'm not experiencing things, so I'm going to look for this in somebody else or in some other relationship. And so we can tend to be tempted to leave the relationship. And the reality is that might not even be necessary. But of course, when it comes to relationships with parents and children, you're kind of stuck with them, right? So how do we create those things in those relationships without giving up, essentially, right? Okay. So many of you may have already tried the following things before. Obviously, most people turn to counseling right away when they're just experiencing any kind of disruption in relationship. One-to-one talk therapy, maybe even hiring a life coach. You're reading self-help books. You're trying to meditate. You're trying to visualize. You're trying to journal. You're trying all these things, and yet although some of these things can provide some relief, like sometimes it does help to talk about our problems, whether with a friend or with a therapist, but it never really gets to the root of the issues. It might validate what we're feeling, and it might feel good to finally be able to just kind of dump what's going on. But if you're finding that you're doing this and nothing's really changing, I'm just here to tell you that there is something that does work. So what I want to tell you, what's really going on in your relationship, oftentimes we think it's all us or all the other person. We get caught up in the story. And what's really happening is that there is some kind of disturbance or disruption in the order of love. So this is a term in family constellations that Bert Hellinger came up with. What he found is that There is an order to love within our family tree, within family itself. There's a place and a space of belonging, that is there for everyone. And when certain things are not in the right place, maybe there's role reversals, maybe there is trauma, there's projection, there's all these things. That order of love is out of whack. And so we're on the receiving end of that disruption. And so it comes out in all of these distorted ways. Um, we might have hidden loyalties and energetic entanglements um, with our parents, with our family of origin, with ancestors. Sometimes it's not even conscious. It could be, your great grandfather, your great grandmother, where there's been some kind of grief. Oh, I timed out there for a second. Could be coming from their, societal upbringing, all of these things that you have a loyalty you're not even aware of, and it's coming out in your relationship. So, a common one is, obviously, as women, we have eons of, women being suppressed, their voices being silenced, disconnected from their sexuality because it's seen as bad. If that is, something that really existed within your ancestry, and it hasn't really been dealt with or given back, then that can show up in your relationship. Unconscious projections, that I'm sure many of you are aware of that, where, maybe something in your child makes you think of your dad and you're projecting something onto him. Or even, I can even speak to, even within my own family, one thing that my mom still does to this day, that she's projecting her experience of her son onto my son. In fact, she's older now, and she catches herself, but she'll often call him, say, "Oh, David," instead of Lucas. So these projections can run really deep, and we don't realize that we're doing it. Obviously, childhood trauma, if that's something that is still alive in your nervous system, it's gonna come out in different ways, wounding from childhood. Um, and again, I think I kinda already touched upon this: inherited familial patterns, ancestral traumas, which can include limiting beliefs, catastrophic events such as war or having to flee a country, societal conditioning, religion. And the reality is, until these issues are addressed at the core level, um, they'll just continue to play out in your relationships. So as I'm clipping along here, if you have questions, just type in the chat and I can answer them as we go along. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep moving here. Um, so what I love about family constellations work is the things that you don't have to do. So you don't have to go into the story to retell it. So if you're experiencing, let's say, yeah, you're struggling in your marriage, you don't have to sit there and talk to me for an hour about all the scenarios and all the things and everything that's going wrong. Uh, you know, just spilling the beans. I don't need you to spill the beans, because when we do that, every time we do that, we're just anchoring that into our reality and into our belief that this is so. And the reality is that we actually are always making meaning out of things. That's what our brain does, right? We create a story around something, but it may not even be true. And so family constellations work, gets you outside of that. You don't need to practice affirmations. We're not spreading frosting on top of a pile of poo. That's kind of like what I like to say about affirmations sometimes, that although they can be helpful, um, and maybe they can shift the energy a little bit, if there's stuff underneath, the affirmations are just gonna, they're never gonna really get to uprooting what's wrong. You don't need to see me for months and months and years on end, and week after week after week and spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Um, you don't need to figure anything out. This is not a process where you have to think and analyze and um, pontificate or theorize. You don't need to deal with your mindset. Um, you don't have to sit there and like kind of force yourself into thinking positive and and just implement another strategy. Thanks, Pratima. Yeah, you don't have to do any strategies. Hi, Stephanie. Um, this is not what it's about. And honestly, for me personally, I find those things really exhausting. Especially when it's something that is so you're ready for this work when you're like, "Oh my gosh, I've tried everything. I'm kind of at my wit's end. I'm ready to just deal with it." Um, so what you get to do instead is get out of your head and into your body. I can't stress this enough. This is why this work is so powerful. You access the feelings within your body. It's all there. I'm sure maybe some of you know the book, The Body Knows. The body knows everything. But when we're stuck in our heads, we're just looping and our bodies, we are energetic beings. Our energy lives in our body. It's not in our head. Although it can get stuck there, I will say. But yeah, so this you get into your heart. We get to, we live in a world where it's just so mental, you know? Um, we're so trapped in our thoughts and in trying to consume ideas and information, and although there's a place for that, um, we wanna connect with the heart, so that's the beauty of this work. Um, you get into your knowing rather than your thinking, right? Thinking to me just feels like, okay, it's just thoughts, it's chatter. But when knowing anchors in, it anchors into your body, and it's like you can't explain it. It's just like, "Wow, okay, I see it now, and I know it now," and you move forward from there, from your knowing, everything changes. Um, you get out of the past and into the present moment. So, family constellations is a phenomenological method, which means it addresses what's showing up in the moment. So, it's so important because we all have a past. We're all carrying stories, and I'm sure we can retell those stories and get into those. But the power of this work is to really dive into, okay, well, what's showing up right now? I understand that you have a story about it, but what's here now? What wants to be experienced here now? And we go from there and we follow the energy in the moment as it unfolds. You get to release trapped negative emotions once and for all. It's pretty common in family constellations work to have these deeply buried emotions kind of come out, arise up, and get released. These emotions that are trapped, they need to move. We try to control ourselves for so long until we can't anymore, and there's such a beautiful and gentle way about this work that allows you to feel those feelings without, reliving trauma, without going into overwhelm. Um, and so, yeah, we get to release those trapped negative emotions so that we can have more space within our being. You get to see the truth, and really, it's the truth that sets you free. So, again, we have these stories that we've created, and with the work that I do, we get a bird's eye view. We get to see the reality of, okay, well, what's really happening here? Understand that your partner is doing this to you and it's triggering you about this and this and this. But then when you bring in your family of origin, you begin to see, oh, wow, yeah, I see that I got this pattern from my dad because he was not available and he was absent. And so I'm looking for someone to replace him, or, or maybe your mother was, um, emotionally abusive, and you've got this low self-esteem, and you've been trying to look to your partner to fill you up, and but no, that doesn't work, right? We know it doesn't work, but again, this stuff is so deep in our subconscious, it's really hard to catch. And so, when we bring it into the light of awareness and we see it, it collapses that, it releases that. Um, you get to experience love, compassion, and deep acceptance of reality, of what's true. Um, Shifts can happen in constellations work, and sometimes the most powerful thing that we can do is to really accept what is true, accept our partners for who they are, accept our parents, etc. Like deep acceptance without trying to change anyone. And when we're able to see that, let's say your father was absent in your life, what you do get to see is like, oh wow, I see why he's absent. It's because maybe his father was abusive, and he just couldn't, he had to turn off his heart. He had to shut himself down. So we can see, we begin to carry, we're able to carry more compassion, and that also releases the triggers. Um, you get to experience profound changes at the soul level. So this is soul level work. This isn't surface stuff. And that's so soul level shifts allow for love to flow back into your relationship without having to do anything. So this is really important. When you receive constellations work, there is a shift that happens. When you're working with the knowing field, um, what unfolds simply happens. What wants to happen happens. And there's nothing to do. It's not like, okay, great, you've had this constellation. Now your homework is, but. No, we don't have to do any of that. It's like you get to experience it. Your body, your energy body goes through an integration process, and then things just naturally unfold. You begin to shift and change. And actually, as you shift and change, your reality changes, your partner will change, and what wants to happen, what needs to happen will happen. And so, um, that's where I say here in the last bullet point, watch miracles unfold. Um, and you get to reconnect to your authentic self. And really, that's kind of the root at everything, right? Is that when we are able to connect to who we truly are, um, and the love that we have inside of us, and express that love in the ways that we desire, um, there's more experience of freedom, of joy, of ease, of being grounded in our bodies. Um, yeah. All right. Everyone good so far? Okay, so how does this happen? I've mentioned family constellations work. It works with the knowing field. I would say other terms for that is field of consciousness, oneness, Indra's net, the crystalline energy field. It's where everything exists. Everything that has ever happened is in that knowing field, and we can access it. Um, it's connected to the past, present, and future, and it allows my clients to access the wisdom and healing that is readily available. And so, um, again, it's through feeling and sensing, allowing what wants to arise within the knowing field. We come to the knowing field with an intention. This isn't working, but this is what I desire. Maybe it's like I'm arguing with my partner all the time, and what I really want, I just want to find, ease and joy and connection. I want to lay the past to rest. Um, and so your intent is really important, because then the knowing field will reveal what is needed to be seen within that intent. And part of the work is utilizing healing sentences. And these are spoken sentences, words that need to be said, that want to be said, that maybe have never been said. And when we speak these sentences aloud, um, the field shifts and changes, and it has an impact on all of the elements that are within the field. Um, and so these energetic shifts, they happen organically and in the moment. Emotions are safely experienced and released. Clarity anchors in, and a feeling of freedom comes into your energetic being. The heart opens, and the pieces can come in. Um, Now I know I'm doing a lot of talking, and one of the things that I always say about family constellations work, um, I can explain it. I mean, I'm attempting to explain it as best as I can, but really, once you experience it, then you know, right? So moving from thinking into knowing, it is experiential work. And once you experience it, then you're like, wow, okay, now I get the power of it. So I just want to kind of go into what some of my clients have experienced in receiving constellations work. And there's two ways I work. I work one-on-one, and there's also group work. Both are equally as effective. Um, and I'll talk a little bit about the group work here in a minute. But here's some examples. So I have these names and quotes for anonymity. So let's take Janet. She was able to go deeper into her intimacy and connection with her partner. What was happening in that situation? She was in her relationship for about 10 years. They weren't married, but they were committed. But she had been actually quite numb for quite some time. She was constantly questioning and wondering if she needed to leave the relationship. She didn't know whether to stay or to go. I mean, this was going on for years for her. And she had gone to a therapist, um, and so we did 6 sessions together, spread out over, I don't know, I guess maybe it was about 3 months, maybe a little bit more. And I reached out back to her. I like to follow up with my clients and just say, hey, how are things going? Like, what's shifted and changed? And it just always blows my mind when I hear back from clients, because she said, well, I made the decision to step out to request a separation. And she said she did it lovingly. And amazingly, what had happened in making that decision to separate, um, she's actually getting everything that she has ever wanted in the relationship. Her partner has decided to go into therapy, which he was resistant to before. Yeah, she's receiving everything that she's ever wanted, which I imagine is, well, one of the big core issues was the sexual intimacy. And so that passion and that fire is in her relationship. She's pregnant, getting ready to have a baby. I mean, it's just like, wow, that's why I love this work. It lights me up so much to see the results. That's why I do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Allison, she had a lot of trauma growing up. She never actually verbalized specifically what was the story, what was the real trauma, but I knew that it was definitely sexual trauma that had happened. Um, and we worked through a lot of it. And she reported back saying, I'm feeling more connected to my sensuality. I feel safer in my body. I feel freer to express my sexuality. She had a lot of she had a Catholic upbringing. And so, as you know, religion kind of really puts a damper on things when it comes to sexuality, especially um, the Christian religion. Well, almost all of them actually. So, giving that programming back to its source, it freed her up. Um, Carolyn was another woman who um, she wanted more than anything to find a committed relationship, and she'd literally I think she had dated hundreds of men, quite honestly, and, we, did some constellation work around it, and now she's married. She's remarried, with the partner, her soulmate, and, so that's pretty exciting. Renee, um, she was estranged from her brother, hadn't spoken to him for 6 years, 1 constellation session, and this is where I talk about the miracles is because after that conversation, certain things lined up where she was at her mother's, her brother called, she overheard the conversation, she felt moved to reach out, and boom, they resolved their differences and were able to come back to being in loving relationship with each other. The understanding, the forgiveness, the freedom, came in. Um, Sarah, she was a mother who came to me. Her son was addicted to meth. She was very distraught, very overwhelmed. Her son was in his 20s. Um, Now, of course, we couldn't do the constellation for him, and that's the beauty of this work. Many of us have grown children that maybe are struggling, and although I can't do the work on the children because they're now adults. Now, if they're younger children, if they're, below under the age of, 17, then certainly, work can be done on their behalf. But in this case, her son was already grown. He was in his 20s. So we did the constellation. She received what she needed to receive, to get out of the overwhelm and into the wisdom of what she needed to be in order to hold space for her son. Um, because he was refusing rehab. He kept saying, I'm fine, but clearly addicted. We found the pattern that there was some kind of entanglement between him and the grandfather. And 2 weeks after, she messaged me and said that he called her, said he was ready for rehab, and the whole family is going through some kind of 12-step program. And this is what I understand about addiction is really it's not the person that's addicted is an indicator signal of there's a distortion in the family system itself. It's not just the one person. And so anyway, that's like a huge success story, and he's on his way to recovery. Um, and then lastly, Shelley, her mother, she felt never seen by her mother. She was carrying a big mother wound. And through Constellation's work, there was a shift and had a very healing conversation in which she finally felt seen by her mom. So, you know, what I find this work to do is that it really collapses years and years of struggle, suffering, and releases it very quickly. Doesn't have to take session after session after session after session. Um, yeah, Pratibha, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this work too. Okay, I'm just going to go through and read some quick testimonials from clients that have been sent to me. And this one woman said, "Words cannot even begin to express the love, respect, and deep gratitude I hold for you in my heart." My beautiful friend. We ended up becoming friends. It usually happens with my clients. This is the happiest and most at peace I have been. You have opened doors for me to see inside my soul, to find my true purpose, and help me heal, grow, and forgive. Each day, I try to use these new tools I've been given to create my path along this amazing journey. Another, I can attest to Tania's work with family constellations. She's truly amazing at what she does and so on point with everything. Not only that, there are tools and steps to take after the session that if procured with love, compassion, and patience, you can expect miracles. Um, Tanya is an amazing and kind, empathetic person who is clearly very talented in energetic healing modalities. I've had 4 family constellation sessions with her to help heal family relationships. I can definitely suggest her as a go-to if you need some help. Okay. Um, all right. So this is where I'm going to present to you an opportunity. If you're really, really ready to um, receive some profound transformation, I'm going to invite you into my upcoming 6-week group program, Healing Relationships. So this format, so I was telling you that before there's a one-on-one constellations, and then there is the group program. So in the group program, we do the workshop style family constellations work. So what I love about this is each person is going to have a constellation done for them within the group. And alternatively, you will be participating in other people's several constellations of other people for other people. So when you're receiving a constellation, other members of the group are going to be doing the representing, quote unquote. It's what I call, it's what Bert Hellinger called it, representations. So um, other people are going to come in and play the role of your mother, your father, even you, or your child, your partner, whatever is needing to be addressed. Those people will step into those roles. And what's really fascinating is what comes through the knowing field, through those people, through the channel. And it's amazing how accurate the information is when it comes through. Um, and you as the client get to receive and observe. And so there's something that's happening that as you're watching this get played out and the healing sentences that get spoken, it really moves things within the client. Um, and the beauty of being able to represent in somebody else's constellation is that oftentimes it is uncanny how you get to play certain roles, because oftentimes that role is um, what do I say, pertinent to something within your own life. So as a representative, you also end up receiving some kind of healing, some kind of new awareness that you didn't have before, in terms of looking at your own life and your own relationships. So it's kind of like this win-win situation. And what I love about the group work is that because everyone gets to practice representing in the constellations, you are exercising and flexing a muscle that in our society doesn't get to be flexed very often, right? Like I said before, we live in a very mentally driven world, and this work is an invitation into feeling with your heart, feeling with your body, um, and getting into a deeper um, level of being. Um, so there's that. There's the group work. We'll be meeting once a week, and each person has an opportunity to present a relationship that they would like to receive healing for. In addition to that, you'll also get to experience a one-on-one constellation. So each person is going to get a 2-hour family constellation session with me. So the beauty of the one-on-one, if there's something that you really don't want other eyes to see, there's the privacy of the one-on-one. And then I bring in another modalities as support in this program. You'll each get a soul chart, which is going to address the energetics within the relationship of your choice and help work with the your crystalline energy system and the crystalline energy fields. Again, this is something that you don't have to understand to receive its benefits. So it's kind of like basically you're getting energy work done on your behalf. And then I'm going to be creating each week an energetic healing meditation that you'll get to listen to remove some of the blocks that you might be carrying internally. Maybe there's blocks to giving and receiving. Maybe you struggle with creating clearer boundaries. Maybe you're wobbly on your yeses and nos, and so getting clear on those, and there's gonna be other themes that are brought in as well. And the starting date is gonna be sometime in October. I don't have the date set, just depends on who's signing up. I'll be taking a poll of what works best for everyone who decides to join. The other program that I have that's ongoing, this is just always open, is my Reignite Your Life 3-month. This is a one-on-one program, and this is a very deep, deep dive. And so it's a uniquely tailored program for mothers. So I have it focused on mothers, um, because I just find that moms are often overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed. They tend to be the people pleasers and take care of everybody else, and they put themselves last. And one of what we look at is, addressing all of her relationships and focus on really what is the life that she wants to create. And we look at what needs to shift and heal. And what you get with that is weekly one-on-one sessions. So it's every other week we alternate between family constellations work and energy work. You get 6 soul charts. And then what I also bring in is transformative handwriting. And that is changing your handwriting so that you are what's the word? You are rewiring your brain so that your innate positive soul qualities can be expressed, so that your authentic self can come fully online. And what most people don't know, I didn't know this until 2 years ago, is that your handwriting um, is um, it impacts your physical body, your mental emotional body, your spiritual body. And what most people don't realize is that we have unhealthy forms of handwriting that have been taught to us. So it's not all your fault that maybe you have unhealthy patterns in your writing, but I look at your writing, I see um, where the limiting beliefs are, where the struggles are, what's showing up, and then going through um, teaching you how to change the letters and how to write them. We start to work with that, and that's a daily practice. And throughout the 3 months, you get daily WhatsApp support, um, to ask questions, to share your handwriting practice with me, to get clear on your intentions, and to share whatever's coming up and just receive support. Okay, and then, all right, so here we go into the offer. So Healing Relationships, a 6-week program. I gotta fly in here. Right now, there's early bird pricing for $888 for pay in full, or you can do 3 payments at $297. I have 2 scholarships available for $555, and there's only 10 spots available. It's not gonna be more than that. I like the group size to be manageable, so that everybody gets what they need. And the price is going to go up to 11/11, October 1st. And then Reignite Your Life. There's a 24-hour fast action bonus of 333 or 3 payments of 11/11. It's regularly 5K. So if you have any questions about that, um, let me know. You can email me. Oh, let me go. I got one more slide. Yeah. You can sign up to get a free chat if you're like, oh, wow, this sounds really intriguing. I want to know more, but I have some questions. Just message me on Facebook, type in the chat. You can email me here, Tania at newearthconsciousness.com. Happy to send you more details on either of those programs. And yeah, and that's my presentation. So I'm going to remove. And I just want to really thank all of you that have joined me live here. Your time is valuable. And I'm really excited to connect with all of you. I'll be following up and reaching out. If you're watching the replay, um, write hashtag replay. And yeah, much love to everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hilda. Thank you, Prativa. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you to whoever else is here that I can't see. And sending so much love, so much life, light, and life, sure. And thank you for joining. Okay, bye, everyone.